yet, but we don't need them. Please welcome to the March 7th regular meeting and workshop of the Town Board. Please join me while we pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of February 22nd?
I make a motion?
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the first item on our agenda is a workshop item, and we have a police department update to the town board, and please join us at the table. We have the Chief Palilli and Lieutenant Benson, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. So we know you guys are busy, so we're interested to hear what's going on.
It's not always good to hear things that we're doing.
I know, but it's true.
Okay, to prep for this meeting, Lieutenant Benson and myself looked over what we thought would be the highlights and more telling statistics within the police department. So we basically broke it down into four major things we can talk about. One will be calls for service, things that have occurred in the year 2015, just to give you a brief overview of what kind of a call volume and call load that the police department is handling. Manpower is the second item. We had some notable cases in 2015, some things I think that we in the police department are pretty proud of. And last but not least, just an update on the fleet. That seems to be among the things that we're often asked about. Those seem to be the notable ones. And certainly, if you have any questions during the time that we're talking, by all means, feel free. So, for 2015, the Town of Hyde Park Police Department handled 11,301 calls for service. That resulted in 340 arrests. That's about 31 calls for service to the PD per day. And just some of the things that, in going through some of the arrests that we had, robberies, aggravated assaults, burglaries, possession of controlled substances, marijuana offenses, weapons offenses, simple criminal mischiefs, assaults, DWIs, among the highlights of some of the things that we handled in 2015. Of that 11,301 calls, 990 of them, or about 3 per day, became what we called cases. That is, they were the calls for service that then required follow-up. Some kind of a report had to be taken, follow-up, an arrest was made, and like I said, 340 arrests for 2015, almost one a day. The department handled 401 traffic accidents in 2015 and issued 1,156 uniform traffic tickets returnable to the Town of Hyde Park Court. And keep in mind, although the Town of Hyde Park Police Department is not the only agency that serves the residents of the Town of Hyde Park, historically, in 2015 being no exception, the PD handles in the high 90s, 96, 97, 98% of all calls originating with 911 as well. So by and large, when you call for the police, whether you call the 7-digit number or you call 911, by and large, the vast majority of the time you're getting the Town of Hyde Park Police Department.
Is one number preferable for residents to use?
In an emergency, we always absolutely encourage people to dial 911.
It's
It's
easy.
easy, people remember it. Trying to do 7 digits in the heat of the moment oftentimes leads to frustration. There's no reason for it. 911 is the better way to do it. And we encourage that because that also, in Dutchess County, 911 polls for the closest police unit as well. So even if it's not us, the resident who's calling for help in a 911 situation is getting the closest police unit that can offer that service. So we would
Okay,
absolutely
that's good
encourage
to know.
people
Yeah,
to
so
dial
depending
911.
on the type of call, you obviously don't want to inundate the 911 system with someone calling about their garbage can was knocked over, something that's not an urgent situation. But as the chief says, if it's active and it's going on right in front of you, we don't want you to try to remember a 7-digit number, even if it's not something that Dutchess County 911 determines to be an emergency and would poll for. They would then transfer you over to our police department. and then our dispatcher or police assistant would pick up and handle the call from there. So, like the chief said, depending on if it's a heat of the moment and you're right into something and something's active, by all means call 911. But if it's something that is past occurred and is not active, 911's not going to generally take it. And we don't want to overwhelm their system as well. So,
Is the county still using or implementing the 911 texting? Is that up and going?
yes, Dutchess County 911 is accepting that. Yep.
Okay.
Just recently.
Just recently, right? So if somebody has an emergency and they don't want to make the phone call, they can hit a 911, they can text 911, and that'll go to the,
And again, while I think that there are certainly going to be instances where a text to 911 would probably be about the only way that they could communicate, and in some instances, service for text messages is much better than it is for voice service. Having been a call taker in years past, if you can call
Yes.
911, it
Yes.
just makes it easier. That voice communication, there's just no, go ahead.
Yeah, just one of the problems we have here is if you use a cell phone to call 911, depending on what tower it bounces off of, you may get Ulster 911
could be
on a
Highland,
cell
right?
phone, yeah. So, and they get a lot of our calls, and we get a lot of their calls from the 911 system. I mean, Dutchess County 911 is leaps and bounds ahead of other 8 counties when you look at the technology that they have. But depending on what tower it goes off of depends on where it lands. So sometimes you'll hear them say Ulster County 911 when you're calling from Dutchess County, but depending on what tower it bounces off of.
It's true, because I know,
Depends.
living off of Crum Elbow, when I make a phone call with my cell phone, it goes off the Highland cell tower.
Yeah,
So-
so depending on, where you are, you may get Ulster 911, but
Okay.
yes, they are
Good to know.
taking text
Great,
calls.
thank you.
Okay. And that pretty much sums up the calls for service for 2015. As far as manpower goes, the police department, thank you, the police department employs 21 sworn individuals, 14 of whom are full-time, 6 are part-time, including myself. 10 of those 14 are assigned to patrol. We have 2 SROs, one at the high school and one at Haviland Middle School. We have 1 detective, and Lieutenant Benson acts as an administrative lieutenant. Out of the part-timers, 2 of them are assigned exclusively to court officer duties. So if you take only those people who are available to take calls on a regular basis, it means that each individual, each police officer assigned to the Town of Hyde Park Police Department is responsible for an average of 807 calls for service a year. And I was saying to Lieutenant Benson, my previous employment, I try to keep up in the newspaper, and they were talking about in 2015, they handled a little over 32,000 calls for service. And it's an urban center, and that's actually lower than it has been in years past. I reference it to say that with an 88 sworn member department, the Town of Hyde Park handles fully a third of those calls for service with about a quarter of the number of individuals. So I think it's important to keep in mind the amount and almost the relentless nature of police work here within the Town of Hyde Park. Police assistants, we have 3 full-timers and 8 part-timers, and as the town board is aware, we've recently hired 2 more, and in the memorandum of agreement with the PBA, we're going to be able to hire more, which I think will expand our pool and make it a little bit more cost-effective to use part-timers where appropriate on the desk. We also have 2 new part-time police officers also authorized by the town board, one of whom starts tomorrow, I believe, Sarah Hutchinson, and the other one who actually I worked with in my previous employment starts Thursday.
Oh, nice.
So terrific. They'll help a great deal. Having additional part-timers will relieve the burdens as we try to backfill positions.
Great.
When we're talking about manpower, no picture would be complete without talking about injuries.
Yes.
Unfortunately, and we've talked about this, and it's become almost a running macabre joke at this point. Since I arrived here in 2012, we have not gone more than 30 days without having somebody out on injury. For 2015, as a for instance, we had an officer out who was out almost 9 months of 2015. So all of my statistics, 807 calls goes right out the window when you start to think we don't have that many people. And we're staffed in such a way that on a one-to-one basis, that as soon as somebody goes out injured, we've got to start backfilling them. Now, luckily, we're able to do that in a, well, I won't say a large number, but in a number of cases with part-timers, but oftentimes it leads to a real spike in overtime. That's just one. We had another officer who was out sporadically with a recurring on-the-job injury, and in 2016, not to get too far ahead of myself, but we already have somebody who's out on a long-term injury situation.
And
Notable
it's
cases.
just-
Sorry.
I'm
No,
sorry, I was
please.
just going to say, but it's the very nature of your work,
Indeed it is.
right?
Yeah, and that's part of the problem,
Yeah.
you know, when we respond to calls, a lot of times we're dealing with somebody who may be on drugs, under the influence of some type of substance, and they have superhuman strength, you know? So we walk into a situation where we're walking in thinking you're dealing with someone on the same level as we are, and we're not, you
Right.
know? And being that we have a minimum manpower of 2 people on the road, 2 officers on the road at a time, there's times where you're there for good 15 minutes sometimes before your backup arrives. And, you know, it's sometimes you're trying to survive
Yeah.
and just buy time, you know, and try to talk your way out of different things, but you can't always do that. And unfortunately, shoulders and backs and knees are the biggest things that seem to really get hurt, you know.
Well, and
while you're-
often you're the first person on the scene of an accident, and I know there are often injuries related to that, to helping people that have been injured, and so,
Yeah, most of the time, we are the first on the scene, you know, with the volunteer fire departments, you know, everyone's home sleeping and, you know, trying to get some rest, and we are the first ones there. We're the ones there, you know, with the limited manpower that the fire departments have and the rescue squads, you know, we're helping lift injured people, even just sick and injured at night. You know, the chief and I respond ourselves, you know, to go and help them lift throughout the day, because at night, they don't have time, they don't have the manpower to really help, so.
and then how often do you call in the assistance of the sheriff or state police? Is that done on a pretty regular basis?
Yeah, if we, like certain calls, like domestics, fights in progress, things like that, are minimum a 2-man response. Generally, the state and the sheriff's office are very good at hearing what we're going to, and they start responding as well. But if they're not in the town, they may be in Pleasant Valley, they may be at the sheriff's headquarters, they may be further out too. So, you know, we do to utilize them often, as well as we help back them up,
Sure.
you know, often. But, you know, being that the county is the way it is and how large it is, doesn't always mean that, you know, they're right around the corner.
Sure.
And I think you said it best, and I have now the history of this is my 5th police department that I've served with. It is the nature of the beast. It would be an unreasonable expectation, although we make jokes about it, it would be an unreasonable expectation with the nature of the work that is performed by these police officers on a daily basis, to think that injuries, and specifically injuries from strains and backs and shoulders and things, it's a very physically demanding work, certainly. And again, we're never seeing anybody at their best. We're always seeing them at, unfortunately, their worst. That's why
Yeah.
they call us. They don't call us because they're having a great day, that's for
Yeah.
sure. So I think that point is well taken, and certainly among the police departments that I've worked with. So some of the notable cases, we actually had 2 bank robberies this year. If you remember, one in June of 2015, the TD Bank on Route 9, and then at the end of December the 30th, Rondout Savings Bank. The TD Bank, we've made arrests in that. That was a little more protracted, but Rondout Savings Bank specifically, and again, I can't say enough good things about not only the police officers that work with the town of Hyde Park, but the relationships that they fostered with the state police and the sheriff's office. By that afternoon, we had that suspect in custody. And it was entirely from real good, beating the pavement kind of police work that couldn't have been accomplished unless we were able to draw on those other resources, manpower, helping us out, knocking on doors, looking at video, things like that. And again, I talk to that specifically because to bring a a bank robbery in for a landing within 8 hours is really kind of unheard of in police work. And I think it really speaks volumes to the caliber of the police officers who are working here in Hyde Park, and then those relationships that they've cultivated and the respect that they've garnered from the other outside agencies who are more than willing to assist at this point. We also, if you remember, had a homicide back, well, actually, St. Patrick's Day of 2015. That was the Jerusha Christie homicide, whose body was found on the state hospital grounds. Now, as it turned out, the actual homicide itself happened within the city of Poughkeepsie, but as the again, bringing in the state police, because it very quickly became apparent to all of the investigators and Hyde Park police officers that it was going to be a case that crossed jurisdictions, just based on information that we gathered straight away. So again, that points to there were arrests made in that. We were involved from beginning to end, search warrants within the city of Poughkeepsie, and that was a very gratifying conclusion to that case, because it wasn't an easy case. Narcan saves. I trained all of our police officers with the help of the health department, and we issued them Narcan in 2015. What's that? June. It was mid-year of 2015, and we had 5 saves in 2015, and we've had, what, three to date in 2016. It's so successful, unfortunately, that the health department's actually having a hard time keeping the Narcan kits in stock. So I had been contacted by the Hyde Park Central School District, the nursing staff, for training. However, the dates aren't quite aligning, but at some point I'm either going to train them, or they're going to be trained by the health department, so that each school nurse within the school district will also have that intranasal naloxone training. Just one other thing, and again, this goes to the tenacity of our police officers and Detective Ursillo. At this point, it's just dissemination of indecent material to a minor, but this case involved an older gentleman who ended up cultivating a relationship with a 13-year-old girl via Facebook, coming here from out of state, living with her, engaging in acts with her. And the investigation, the computer investigation, the investigation from the previous place where the perpetrator lived, all, again, talk about 12 and 14-hour days and back and forth. And again, I can't stress enough the amount and the caliber of work that's being done by these police officers is terrific.
And to speak a little bit about that case, it started out as a unwanted subject. We got called to a home for somebody who said, this person's been here, I don't want him to live here anymore. My road patrol guys got there and said, something just doesn't seem right here. So they called in Jason Rosillo, our detective, and Jason started digging a little deeper. And when we finally did charge him with something to put him in jail, to stop him from leaving the state because he wasn't from here, we started getting calls from other states saying, this guy's creepy. This guy's done some similar things in our state, but we can't pin anything on him. So Jason didn't give up. Him and Officer Mirabello worked in a middle school, really went hard and deep. And when you start talking about warrants for Facebook and warrants for cell phones, it is very, very time consuming. And when we got back 40,000 pages from Facebook. So we had to sit guys down in a room and say, start looking for anything that looks out of the ordinary right off the bat. Then you have to go to the next layer. Then you have to start reading texts that are in there. So these guys went hard, and we hopefully are going to be able to take this man off the street from hurting anyone else.
Wow.
Well, when it came to New York, we weren't going to deal with it. We weren't going to stop it. It all started from somebody who said, something doesn't seem right here. This guy his stuff was in this girl's bedroom, and it just doesn't seem right. And that's what all unraveled from that, but,
Well, that's very impressive, and
yes.
shows
and it-
that the detective position was very valuable and
Yeah,
worth
and it
the-
really shows our road patrol guys
Yeah,
too, having
yeah.
a little bit of an idea, like, you get that
Yeah.
gut feeling when you look at something.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem right. And then, and we
Good to
utilize
hear.
Officer Mirabella too from the middle school, from his connections in the
Mm-hmm.
middle school and his dealings with the kids and his rapport to dig into it. And they really did a great job, and it's still ongoing, but, they worked hard on that. I was real proud of them.
It's interesting how many tendrils are out there and how many facets that you need to explore to find the perpetrators or,
And that's what we find with a lot of this stuff. It doesn't stop at town lines, and this didn't stop at state lines. He's worked his way up
Yeah.
here from Tennessee, and he's worked in different states and done different things and just, skated under the
Wow.
radar. And
well,
finally
good
he
work.
got here,
Okay, that's great.
and they were able to stop him.
Okay, and last for the presentation, we'll just talk about the police department fleet. Currently, the police department has 11 vehicles in its fleet, 4 of which are unmarked, 7 of which are marked. The average miles on the marked vehicles in the fleet is 94,188 miles. The average miles on the unmarked cars are 87,169 miles. So as you can see, we've got some high mileage vehicles in there. One of our vehicles, marked vehicles, car 11, has 173,000 miles, and the vehicle that I'm assigned just turned 101,000 miles. The least miles we have, brand new on car 5, that's a marked vehicle, which was delivered in April of 2015, not quite a year ago, is 22,000 miles, and the lieutenant's car, which was purchased used, has about 48,000 miles on it. Just to give you an overview of what we're trying to do to juggle vehicles, in January of 2015, you might remember that the police department had a total loss of a vehicle that we had actually purchased used from the Village of Fishkill Police Department. It actually ended up being a real windfall for us in that.
Unfortunately.
But that,
Yeah.
nobody was injured, and I'll preface it by that, but we had full replacement value on that vehicle, which meant that that Impala then was worth to us being able to buy another marked car used from the Village of Brewster, town of Brewster, the lieutenant's unmarked car, and the unmarked detective car. So, again, I don't mean to
Made
make...
3 cars out of 1.
Right, I don't mean
Very
to make
good.
light of a bad situation, but it actually, that worked out as well as it possibly could have for us.
Well, I know you've worked hard to find the used vehicles and appreciate that. It's-
And this is a very important accolade to give. Lieutenant Benson took it upon himself, realizing that the only avenue we had for disposing of surplus equipment within the police department had historically been the county auction, which didn't always bring, because of its limited market, didn't always bring the best prices. He took it upon himself to do research. I don't mean to speak for you, please, if you can.
Yeah, I did some research and we found GovDeals, which is a national site that advertises throughout the whole entire country. And for one of the old car that I was driving, which was Chief McKenna's old car, was a 2002 Ford Expedition with 169,000 miles on it. We got $3,000 for that car
Nice.
on auction through that GovDeals. When we just auctioned off our last car through the county, we didn't even get $1,000 back from that car. It's just a different market.
Yes.
They're using an online thing as well, but
Bigger audience,
yeah,
larger
but
audience.
every fee is paid for by the buyer. So we sold it for $3,010. We got $3,010.
Right.
After they pick it up, the following Wednesday, they cut a check and they sent us a check. We also got rid of some excess equipment. We had old light bars and things in storage that were taking up space that couldn't really be used anymore. So we sold those things off, which generally in the past we've thrown away. We've scrapped them and gotten rid of them because, you can't just have a yard sale and sell these things in the yard. We got almost $14,000,
Wow.
$1,400, I'm sorry, 14,000 would have been nice. $1,400 for stuff that was laying in the shed
Yeah.
that, we took the time and laid out and took photos of and stuff and got rid of, so.
Appreciate that. Really,
It
it's
really
very,
It really was a terrific thing, and it opened up the market to,
Yeah.
again, going just to that expedition $3,000.
So when you look at the $32,000 we got for the car that was crashed, when you add on top of that, the $3,000 for
Right.
one car, $2,000 for another, plus $1,400 for the equipment, we actually put money back into the maintenance line, which we needed to cover some of the other stuff. So, you always want to try to get the most that you can get for the used stuff when, when you do
Yeah.
finally get rid of it. Not that there's a lot of serviceable miles left in a 173,000 mile car, but
Yeah.
at the same point, there's always someone out there looking for it, so.
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate
welcome.
your,
And there was just one other thing under vehicles, also in an effort to kind of go outside of normal channels for obtaining police equipment, we also solicited and obtained a vehicle on donation from the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. It was a used car, again, it's got over 100,000 miles, but as a for instance, my car was in the shop this entire past week, and I was able to use that, and we took delivery on that in May of 2015. So again, we're exploring every single avenue that we
I know
possibly
you are.
can.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
and that really concludes kind of the more formal, but any questions at all?
I just want to say, as a resident, thank you. I mean, the police department has always been great pride for me and the Schneider family. We've always talked about the DARE program, which unfortunately no longer is really in existence, but you've always been real close to me and my family through that program, and with the baseball, and just your face in the community has always just been a very positive face in the community, and with Chief and what he brings to the police department. I'm just excited that I can be part of it a little bit, and thank you for your service, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Well said. Anyone have any other
Yeah, I
questions?
just wanted to ask the status of the domestic violence program. I'm not up to date on where we are on that. Is that still ongoing?
Absolutely, except, as you're probably aware, the police department grant funding ran out after the first year, and now the program is under the auspices of a grant secured by Senator Serino.
Okay.
So it continues exactly in the form that it was, the advocacy program, with Melissa being in the building and taking on those responsibilities, but the funding has been transferred. It still comes from the same basic place, but Senator Serino obviously recognized the importance of that and was able to secure funding through some senatorial ways, I suppose.
Do you think that will continue into future years?
I would like to see it. I
Yeah.
think it works phenomenally well, not only for the victim, in bringing to the table things that the police officers aren't as well versed at as someone who is integrally involved in that whole program. Now, keep in mind, Melissa not only works at our station, but she goes down and is able to access all of the programs offered through the family partnership. It also, in a more pragmatic view, really assists the police officers a great deal as well. Brings to the table resources that police officers just aren't aware of, and in the heat, again, speaking to the heat of the moment, Melissa is an advocate. Melissa is someone who works on behalf of the victim. As a police officer, we work impartially. So to be able to bring somebody in who's going to champion the cause of somebody who has been involved in a domestic violence situation as a victim, that's not a role that we can undertake. By law, we couldn't do that. But I think it's very important. So I would like to think so. I think Senator Serino certainly recognizes the importance of it.
And I think what the important part of what she brings to the table is not every domestic incident results in an arrest. But that doesn't always mean that there's not domestic violence going on in the residence. So when we recognize that, we give her that information, and she then can open doors that we don't even know exist, and be able to get that victim services. If they want them, they're there, and there's so many services, like I said, there's stuff we don't even know exists. And many times, she'll be able to talk to that victim and find out more information about what's going on, and give that victim the courage to then come forward and be able to sit down alongside of one of the officers who then knows Melissa and can read Melissa, where Melissa's going and where the whole case is going. So we're getting the best possible outcome for every victim and every resident, I think possible now that we didn't have before.
So is that, it's typically done as a referral from the police officers? Is that how the victims connect with Melissa, with the?
It can either be a referral from an incident where we responded to, or people call, she gets
She
quite a
can just
few
call,
phone calls. Yeah, she
so
has her
residents
own
could call
email
the
address.
police
She has her
station
own-
at 229-9340
Yep, ask for
and just
Melissa.
ask for Melissa, and you would connect her.
Yeah, she does a lot of phone calls. She has email too, so she has an private email. She has a private office. She comes in the back entrance so the victims don't have to walk through the front of the building and be seen. She goes out and meets them for, coffee somewhere, or meet them somewhere. I
Great.
can't say enough great things about what Melissa has done.
That's
And
wonderful.
the whole program has done for the residents of Hyde Park.
That's great.
Your coffee with a cop seemed very successful.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
was a nice reach out to the community.
Well,
We're-
this is a good time to say it. April the 16th, is actually a Sunday, Saturday, we're going to do another one,
April 16th?
April 16th. However, we're going to do it at the police station this time.
Oh, great.
We thought it would be a good way, first off, it's the weekend, which we got a lot of requests for, and secondly, it's a good way to show off the,
Absolutely.
show off the building.
So April 16th, coffee with a cop at
10
the
to 2.
police station.
At what time?
What time?
10 o'clock in the
10
morning to
a.m.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
10
Oh,
to
wow,
2.
okay.
Yeah, and our thought process, again, we didn't want to try to do something in January and February. We lucked out this year, but generally, last thing you want is to put a lot of time and effort into organizing it and have bad weather, have someone get injured trying to get out to see us. And like the chief said, I must talk to one or two people a week who say, I still haven't seen that building yet, so let's get people in. We're very proud of where we are and where we've come from, and I want to get people in and get them to see it, and also at the same point, we'll incorporate the coffee with a cop into that at the
That's
same
great.
time.
And so do you utilize the email system if people sign up for email? And will you send out different advisories or that type of thing via email?
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
I
yeah.
utilize the Town of Hyde Park's
The town-
webpage.
right.
And then when I post something on there, then it sends out through the email blast.
Right, so
We also
people,
put stuff on the Facebook page. We send it out to the schools, and then Officer Mirabelle and Officer Monaco distribute it out through the schools too. So we're going to put some flyers up in some of the businesses and things too, but we were just trying to get a solid date that worked for most of the people that were involved.
great.
Just if we could, just one thing about Facebook, and I forgot. The Facebook project, and I'll be very honest with you, technology has never been my friend, so the Facebook thing was kind of a daunting task. However, we have a part-time police assistant, Brian Grimm, who I can't say enough good things about. We have utilized that Facebook page for not only information, not only humor, but for some real informative stuff, Amber Alert kind of stuff, seeking the public's input, and he's able to stay on top of that. It's timely, things that go on there. The response has been astounding to me, and I really have to say that as a form of communication, I don't know that there's anything else that we could use within the police department to reach so many people in such a short period of time.
Yeah, when we just had that dog that was found and turned in, we had over 30,000 people that reached for the dog missing. I mean,
Good dog, too. I know.
that's a lot of
Good dog, yeah, Brian.
doors to knock on. They reached
Yeah.
30,000 people.
Yeah,
That was pretty
absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Dave has a question.
Yeah, I just have a question on the Narcan. Do the calls come in from friends, from parents? Do they just happen to come on these scenes? How is that working? Are
I
people,
would say, based on looking at those reports, they're coming in from all different people, from family members, from people who were coming upon these people, but ordinarily they're people who are in the same households, things like that. That's been the number of calls we've seen.
and when they make that call, do they run away, or do they have fear of being arrested if that,
No, the county has in place, and I'm not exactly sure if it's a policy, a law, or how it works, but if you are using drugs and one of your friends or someone goes down from a heroin overdose or drug overdose, we will not arrest the person for the possession of heroin. because we don't want people not to call and lose people because they're afraid to call because they're afraid of getting arrested. So we will secure whatever drugs we find, and we will take them and confiscate them and destroy them. But the person that calls won't be charged with possession of heroin if we're there for a medical call or medical purpose.
It's great, because we've lost a lot of people that way. They
Well,
just,
I
they leave
think
them
that's a
there.
very important point, and in fact, that's incorporated in the Narcan training, and in fact, that's a state law at this point, and that is anybody who calls, no matter their involvement, absent the weight of drugs that would make it an A1 felony, so they'd have to be dealers and they'd have to be sitting on a huge quantity of drugs, or any subsequent, any outstanding warrants from other jurisdictions. But as far as that incident specifically, they cannot be prosecuted. And I happen to think there was definitely among the police community some real back and forth where that was concerned. However, when you look at the success, and I think what you say is exactly the truth. If you remove the fear of arrest from somebody dialing 911, because again, going back to my previous experience, my previous law enforcement experience, specifically the urban center, I can point to various instances where people were pushed out of the car to die on the side of the road. There's just no reason for that. First and foremost, as a police agency, we've got to be all about saving lives. And if this helps us save lives, then I'm all for it. And that is a state law. And there's some very specific guidelines where it wouldn't be enforced. But again, not the typical we're personally using drugs together and you've overdosed.
I don't think the drug dealers are going to be calling.
I don't believe so. either.
Thank
Drug dealers aren't the ones usually using.
Right.
So that's,
Right.
that's where you look out. But no, that is an important thing, that make sure that anyone goes unconscious, whether using drugs or not, to call 911, immediately.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, well, thank you for being the
Thank you so
wonderful
much.
resource
Appreciate
you
your
are.
service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Send your best to the
Take
families,
care.
please.
Okay, the second item on our agenda is the Dinsmore Park Basketball Court Improvement Project, and Kathleen is here, as well as Pete. How are you guys doing tonight? Good, good. Okay, thanks for, looks like you have a lot of materials there.
Hope I have enough for everybody.
What's up, Mr. Pete? Good, man. How are you?
Good. How you feeling?
A lot better. I thought I was going to die.
Really?
Yeah.
Pass them down.
Get a flu shot this year?
Oh, are they?
I had pneumonia.
Oh, you-
Came down in pneumonia.
Oh, that's right.
Thanks, Kathleen.
I'll get a pneumonia shot, I'll tell you that. I'm not
We
going through
could
that
share
again.
one if you, Warren and I can, Warren doesn't,
I have a pneumonia
Oh, I
shot.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
you don't
That's
want
okay, we'll share.
I do, but not that much. Thank you. Only what I need.
Thank you.
only what you need to know to write the resolution. Okay, so you want to give us a little history of how you ended up here?
Sure, well, see, I
Now
was
we-
born around 19, oh, no, no.
Where were you born?
We don't have that much time.
Okay. So, so last fall, the Rec Commission decided to propose a improvement at Dinsmore Park, the basketball court up there. And so we did a little research on surfacing and came up with a product that is used in a lot of recreational areas now, and it's a synthetic, like, system, squared system of interlocking squares, and it's raised. It's like it's safety surfacing. So anyway,
Pass that around while
oh,
you're talking.
they have copies.
the actual
Oh yeah.
sample.
Oh okay. Yeah, thank you. Oh yeah. Very good.
Gotta be Vanna
That's what it
White,
looks
show
like.
it to me.
Vanna White.
So anyway, we got some estimates. There's a couple different companies that make that type of material. And then Pete and I went up and actually looked at the park a couple times. Once last fall, we sort of did a preliminary plan and estimate for the 2016 budget. And then we went back up there about 3 weeks ago and looked at it again. And so what I've done is come up with a sort of a proposal. That's the top sheet that everybody has. And it's basically three sections. The first would be the prep work on the court. The existing court, you have photos. Everyone has a few photos in their package of the existing basketball court up there. And you can see from the pictures that, if you haven't been up there recently, the basketball court was probably put in there probably about, I don't know, at least 40 years ago.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's old. It was done, I think, in-house. It's unlevel. You can even see a puddle there on one of the pictures, the top picture there. It also has this raised edge that's asphalt, a berm, which was put there so that it would also serve the purpose of an ice rink in the winter. So it actually has, on one corner, it has a PVC pipe with a plug that, it's supposed to, the way it's supposed to work is, you plug it and, you fill it with water and you have yourself an ice skating rink there all winter. Maybe it worked, 40 years ago or so, but it hasn't worked in a while. The water, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of cracks in the asphalt. You can see if you go through the pictures. And so it doesn't get a lot of use either, I think, also because of the uprights, which are located, right next to the berm. So if you're actually, if you know how to play, if you're playing basketball and you're doing a layup or you're running, full court to, shoot, that berm there is really a trip hazard. So doesn't get a lot of use right now, but it is in an area, it's in the village of Statsburg, downtown Statsburg. And, it's a fair-sized community there. And so what the Rec Commission really want to do is they want to do a nice improvement there and put in this high-quality basketball court and use it for, local recreation basketball camps or programs. It's also a multi-surface material as well, so you can actually do other sports on it. You can play paddle tennis, badminton, kickball, volleyball. So it does have a multi-purpose use as well. So anyway,
You want to go over your costs first?
okay, all right. So the first cost would be the prep work. We figured the highway might be able to go in there and save us some money and actually take out the berms.
Take out the berms, right.
Yep, and level that. And then also, we wanted to lay down a little more asphalt just to make it a little bit bigger, the court. So it's regulation and there's some extra space there for, benches and the fencing. So I sort of did an approximation of what it might cost to have the highway in there to remove the asphalt berm and to lay down, a strip of asphalt like 5 foot by 90 feet long in length on one side. I guesstimated that at about $5,800 based on, a approximate pay rate of $85 an hour per person, with 4 men or 4 people working 8 hours for 2 days. The second cost would be the materials and installation of the court system, so the surfacing. And what we did was we got this estimate through a company called Snap Sports, and I've given you the written estimate there, and the product information is on the back. So what they would do is the contractor who would win the bid would provide and install 5,400 square feet of the synthetic flooring products, and the estimated cost of that is about $21,000. They'd paint the game lines on the court, and they also have all different kinds of colors you can use for surfacing too. That would cost $650. They would also provide and install 4 basketball hoop systems at $6,660, and the labor would run about $4,523. And that labor cost is based on New York State prevailing wage, right, Pete?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a shipping cost for the materials that comes from the manufacturer. So you're looking at about $35,550 for the flooring system and the basketball hoops system. Okay, and then the third part of it would be the fencing around the basketball court. You know, we would recommend fencing because it is near the parking lot, so it would keep it safe and secure for the children and the people that are using the basketball court system. I did get an estimate from Adams Fencing, and we went with 8-foot fencing, even though some of these other courts use 10-foot, but we figured, 8-foot is fine. It's high enough for our purposes.
I'm sorry, what's the purpose of the fencing? Just is to keep kids
It's
away from the parking lot or balls away from?
both. It's sort of to keep the ball from, going, if it's thrown, out into the field or into the adjoining properties or hitting the building, because we're pretty close to the firehouse there. And we're also right next to the parking area.
Okay.
So that's what the fencing would be for. So we're looking at approximately 426 feet of 8-foot fencing, 2 4-foot wide gates. There'd be a top rail, a middle rail, and a bottom rail, just to secure the fencing. Yeah, because if you're running, into the fence, you want to make sure.
support, yeah,
Yeah,
for
for support. And then, of course, there's the cost of the footings, the concrete footings, and the uprights, and labor, again, based on
Prevailing wage.
prevailing wage. So the fencing would be about $20,800. So the total project estimate we're looking at is about $62,000.
The question, I have a couple questions regarding the snap sports, and maybe, Pete or Kathleen. It says on the front there that it's residential, that it's not commercial grade.
Okay.
And some of the issues that I think you might have with that, I've used something similar to that, it's snap court flooring. And a lot of times those tabs, because they kind of just like, there's just a male and a female where that tab goes into, they end up breaking. So, because that's kind of like a floating floor, how do you think that would hold up in a outdoor use commercially? Because this is like more for residential, where you're not going to have a lot of play on it, Pete. What was your thought
Well, let me
process
first-
on going with this type of?
Well, let me first say that when Kathleen first called me, I mean, I didn't really have I don't want to say I didn't have a opinion, but, I had some questions also, because, I've never seen, the product. So one thing that I suggested to her was that she try to find out through the Snap Sports contact person where this has been used, before for this particular type of, an application. I mean, I haven't seen, I've seen something like the product, but I haven't seen it used for this particular type,
Right.
of application. So, I believe that, she has made some contact with some folks. We asked some questions, hey, where has this been done? And I think one of them was down in Paramus, New Jersey. And I think there was also some kind of a camp. I think it was down in Hopewell. So I can let you speak on that. But one of the things that I had some concerns about, and I had some email correspondence with the Snap Sports contact person, was if this is the product that we ultimately went with and we put it out for bid, is this, can any contractor be able to bid on this? And what I had got back was that, this particular product has to be bought from them, so, and whatever contractor would be responsible for it, because I was concerned about, hey, look, can you get any type of contractor, and I'm not sure exactly what, it wouldn't be an excavating contractor, but some kind of a building contractor, let's say, can he go out and buy, you know, the product and just put it down? Because I don't want to say it seems pretty simple, but it's more of a snap-together thing.
It is.
Because my concern was that, you know, the warranty, whatever, you know, the warranty, it doesn't have to be installed by a certified person that's certified to install the product. And it did, and, you know, he did come back and say it has to be installed by a certified, I don't know if it's Snap Sports contractor. So, you know, my only concern was that you're a little limited in terms of, you know, like bidding as who's going to, you know, be bidding on it, because it has to be bought from them. It's got to be installed by a certified installer in order to keep, you know, your warranty. Those were the kind of things that I was concerned about. And when I asked how many certified like installers are in our, you know, area, I don't know if he didn't really want to give me, you know, the answer, but he said that there are some in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, you know, area.
Can I just back it up a second? What are the advantages of this product over typical basketball court material? I assume it's like a macadam, is that what they usually use?
Yes, usually, I mean, most of, you know, the recreational courts are, you know, macadam. Sometimes they put a, you know, a grip, you know, coating over it, similar to what you'd see on a
Tennis court?
tennis court,
Right.
right, so that you have like a grip to it.
But I'm just wondering, you know, what is the selling point for using this? Is there one? Is there, like, is it better on your knees? I don't know.
Yeah, it is, yes. It's easier, it's, you know, more user-friendly. You know, there's no standing water, you know, it drains, it has a surface where, you know, you're not going to slip because there's a bit of a tread, and it's supposed to be, you know, just easier to learn the game on. It's good for children that are just starting out and developing their skills, it's just...
The tiles are replaceable, so if they do break, you can replace that tile.
Right.
Yeah, I did. I talked to the town or city of Paramus, the town, I guess it's the town of Paramus. They have a couple of courts with it, and they're pretty,
Are they happy with it?
Yeah, they're happy with it.
How
And,
long
they,
have
you know,
you
it's
had
not just residential. They do, you know,
They
do a
do.
lot of,
Oh,
yeah,
I just said
commercial.
this, and it just said, you know, residential on it.
Yeah,
so
I guess I just
didn't
copied
realize.
one
Okay.
part of it, but...
How long have they had it, do you know? Did you ask?
They've had the tennis courts for about 2 years, and they've had the basketball courts for about 1 year.
They're using it on tennis courts, too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can use it on tennis. It's multi-surface, so you could get the lines painted, you could put a tennis net up there, you know, with it as well. So, yeah, it's multi-purpose, which is another, you know, attractive thing. Sorry.
I was just wondering if there's any maintenance required, like if it gets like pebbles or, you know.
Yeah, I did
stuck
talk
in
to
the-
him about it, and he said they blow it off, you know, with a blower, and they also, you know, so if leaves get stuck in there, you know, what he's afraid of is, you know, weeds eventually growing through there. So, you know, you do have to maintain it, you have to blow it off, and I imagine if it ever got to the point where, you know, you may have to treat it for weeds, you know, I guess you could do that, but I can't say, I don't know if that would happen. That's the other thing, there's a big tree that needs to be taken down right up there as well, right next to the court.
So these monies would come out of the rec trust fund?
Correct.
Right,
yes.
that's
Yeah.
not a town budget item, it's the rec trust.
Right, yes.
And how much is in there now? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think it's about, I'm going to say 200,000.
Oh, really? I thought I was under the impression it was more. So this would be taking a very significant chunk out of it if we went with this. And the rec fund, the rec trust fund is essentially funded through subdivision applications, and
Right.
we haven't had a lot of those in recent times, so, yeah. So 62,000, if we have 200,000, you're talking about a substantial reduction of about a third.
I mean, it's nice to have a park in that area.
Oh, without a
I mean,
doubt.
you know,
No,
that-
I'm just,
that's-
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that it's, I like to look at the big picture and
Right.
plan for the future as well. And I just didn't know how this would compare with a macadam
Oh, I see what you're
surface.
saying. Would we have to
Is where I'm going.
skim that so it's level? I mean,
I was wondering that too.
you know, do we have to put a little skim coat there
I
anyway, Pete?
would think that we would have to do something
Yeah.
to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not level at this
Right.
point, I would imagine. Or is it pretty close?
You know, we'd have to shoot it, but, you know, looking at it, it's, you know, it's been there a while.
Right.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you go there, you know, to look at it, outside of a few longitudinal cracks,
Yeah,
the asphalt's not, I mean, again, it's a little like uneven, so.
Yeah.
Yes, you probably would have to put.
Put a
like
skim.
Skim
And
coat
they
over
do,
it.
they do that. I mean, if that's, you know, if that's written up.
Well, we'd have to
they're-
specify it,
Yeah, they will do that. They will come in and prep the surface.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
all the cracks.
I guess
Is
my,
this discussed by the rec commission? I assume they're generally favorable to this plan?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we discussed it. We've been discussing it since
Yeah.
last fall.
Okay.
Kathleen, you had said 8-foot fencing. What did you say the norm was?
10, usually about 10 foot.
And you mentioned Adams fencing, right, that you got, was there anybody else?
Well, we'd have to bid it, Joe. We'd have to,
Oh,
you
right.
know,
Yeah,
competitively
gotta-
bid
You
it.
just
It was
did
just,
that
I
as a
think it was just
quote.
something
Okay.
to just get a figure.
Yeah.
Was there any thought to maybe just having a section of fence on the, you know, the parking lot side rather than, you know, all four sides to maybe save on some money? Because I mean, if the ball goes in the field towards the back, is it really that big of a deal if they have to, you know, run after it? Or, I mean, I understand about like
Yeah.
protecting it from the parking lot, but
Mm-hmm.
do you think there's any consideration to not doing all four sides with fence, or?
Well, you could probably reduce a couple of you could put maybe like a 5-foot on maybe, you know, 2 sides of it or something like that. But it would help just to keep the ball in, you know. I mean, you probably wouldn't need a 10-foot. Actually, I think I've read where in some of the places they'll put like 10 foot on a couple sides and then 5 foot on another if it's not needed.
Yeah.
So you could probably get away with doing
It'll
that.
just be locked all the time, or it'll just be open to the public?
No, it would be- yeah, it would
it's gonna
be open.
So
Yeah.
anytime anybody can go, so it's not like the fence is gonna like protect, you know, the product. I guess that's, you know, I
I
didn't
think
think.
you would almost need to have it fenced in, because this is a floating floor, if you went this way. So you'd need to have something to go up against.
Yeah. or they-
Otherwise,
they
you're
do
just gonna
put it-
have that sitting on top, and there's
well, they
like,
must have something.
Yeah, they
Well,
have
there's
some
gotta
type of
be,
edging.
there's gotta be some
There's
kind
gonna
of like
be-
a retainer edge,
Yeah.
similar when you put down, you know, pavers,
Right,
block pavers.
right, right.
Where you put like a retainer edge.
yeah.
Yeah, they do
on it.
have
There's gotta be-
edging.
There's
Yeah.
gotta be a retainer edge. What about, again, I didn't really look at it good enough yet, but when they put this stuff down, is there any concern about kids being able to pull them up and, you know, walk away with them, or are they just snapped in, are they just snapped in together?
It'd be hard pulling the middles out.
Yeah.
If the edging on the ends break, then that's when they start moving a little bit and the tabs break.
Yeah,
I say, you know, we use some of these in displays that we had through the company that I work for. And it's great equipment, you know, it holds up well, but we have seen some of those tabs break. Now, we're bringing mowers on there and turning them and stuff, so it's a little bit more than a person.
Is there a warranty?
It says
there-
16 years,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, but then it also says it's, this warranty does not cover damage caused by fire, wind, floods, or moisture, and it's outside, so it almost seems like there wouldn't be a warranty,
Yeah, I don't
you know,
know.
Well, some of
so.
them are made for indoor, you know,
Right,
they're not,
right.
this might just be, you know.
Yeah,
in
so I guess we'd
general.
have to get more information, but I mean, I
But I mean,
like the
like, for
project.
instance, this company has been in existence for 40 years, they've been making this, so it's
Right.
not like
Oh.
it's, you
Oh,
know, a
it-
new
oh, really?
product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I wondered about the color fading, you know, with the sun and,
Well, it is UV
UV,
ray
yeah.
protected,
Oh.
so it's good quality, made in the USA.
I mean, Emily, this is in your ward, I mean, you think it's a park, something like, an upgrade like this would be,
I think people would appreciate, you know, being better able to use that support. I can't speak to the specifics of it.
Right,
It's not
gotcha.
really my.
Well, I don't speak to the specifics of it. I just like to wonder what the long-term other improvements are planned, for future uses of rec fund.
I
Have you
think,
guys
I
really
think the
thought-
the rec commission is looking just to keep the parks, upgraded and usable. Like, we're going to be looking at Pine Woods again because, the play system there is getting old and, it's just,
Well, I just worry, I guess for my own peace of mind, I'd love to have a price on what it would be to just use typical macadam, just as for comparison purposes, only because it's a finite world and we've got to make the money go as far as we can. And, just wondering what, how much better the park is by having, a more sophisticated product. And I'm not articulating a opposition to it. I'm just looking at the long-term.
Options.
Yeah, in the long-term plan, like you usually like to, we know we have to make this money last because, as I said, we're not, there aren't a lot of subdivisions. And the state of the economy doesn't indicate that housing is really making a tremendous rebound. So, you've got to make the resources that you have go for, length
Yeah.
of time.
The last time we had the workshop on this, we were discussing the town of Lloyd, right? Isn't that what we were looking
Yeah.
at?
and
And
they, yeah.
what
They don't
surface?
have that product. yeah.
No,
They
what
just have-
sort of-
They
they're-
have like a tennis.
Like a cushion,
coating.
yeah, coating, right?
Like on our tennis.
Right.
Right,
You
it's a
get it like
macadam
a
that's got-
rubberized, it's like a rubberized.
Right.
And you have to get that has to get redone like every 5 to 10 years.
Is that right?
depending on- Yeah. So that's a lot of maintenance.
Well, I think the project looks promising.
Well, I would
I
love,
just
I'd
think,
love to see
it would be a great thing. It would, it would be very attractive and, a high-quality, facility for our town. And I think it would, it would really, I think, get a lot of use from a lot of the children. I know we have one of the fathers that run a basketball camp over at Pine Woods every summer, and it's huge. And, so something like that would be like perfect, to really, provide, high-quality surface and, with 4 goals where you could have stations to actually, rotate to do skills and,
Well, I
just-
think that's a fabulous thing, and the only thing that I was just questioning is the surface. Everything else sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just, just wondering if there's ways that we can
Check on other
reduce
options.
cost and still come up with a great product, for that
Right, well, I
park.
mean,
Yeah.
there are other companies that make this type of product too. So, could be competitive,
So you would put it up on BidNet and see who replies?
Yeah, I think so. I think we should do
Oh, yeah,
that.
we would put it up on BidNet. Whatever we end up with is going to go on
Okay.
BidNet.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, we can determine, if it's
Well,
feasible.
so what would
The,
what would you like the next step to be then? Should we?
Well, are you guys looking for, the other option?
Well,
or-
I kind of
would
gave
be
my,
good to see it at
I gave
least.
my input, and
Yeah.
leave it to other people to make a...
I would like to get the option of the macadam, I mean, if, at home, that's what I would use. This looks pretty flimsy to me. I know nothing about it, honest to God, but you get water in there or pebbles, and I think, who knows? You said there's one in Hopewell we could look at?
There's
you-
one at, it's
There was,
Kinderhook Camp
I
or
don't know, we
something
got
like
the
that?
email. I don't,
Oh,
recognize
yeah,
the
I could-
name
I
of it,
could-
but-
You know,
But, I mean, ultimately, I would say I would defer to the rec commission. I mean, it's the, that's
Yeah.
really my feeling. I'd love to see their money go as far as possible, because we do have 7 parks, and there's always needs, but I would defer to their recommendation. So, do you want to discuss it again at another point, or go back to the rec commission, make sure this is how they want to go forward?
Sure, we have a meeting tomorrow.
Oh, great. Would
so-
you, then just
talk about-
confirm with them that this is how they want to go forward, and then we would put it out to bid, yes?
Yeah, I would have to do.
The bid
plans and the
specs?
specs, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Put it out for bid.
Okay.
Kathleen, the disc golf at Hackett, very
Put it
popular.
in writing for the rec
Yeah, it's really,
commission.
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
being used
Yes,
quite a
good
bit.
idea.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's nice, so, thank you.
Yeah, I would like them to, the recommission just to put it in writing, that this is what their recommended choice of
Okay.
product is and recommended course of action.
Okay,
Okay,
Sure.
good, yeah,
yeah,
great.
discuss it. again.
All right.
Not to prolong this, but
Yeah.
when you say recommended choice of product, I mean, are we putting it out to bid for a certain spec of plastic grid product that multiple companies would be able
Well,
to
I would
bid
have to
on?
check, I mean, if this is the type of product that we're gonna, be going with, I'd have to do some research to see if it can be, like an or equal, are there other,
Yeah,
are there
we-
other
Wondering.
similar type companies? And if Kathleen's done some research and says there are, then that's, better.
then-
But if
Yeah,
you're sold on
Mawa's
the-
bid document is online, so, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
sent
you
that to
sent
you,
it.
so you can look at that and determine how to write it
Well,
up.
it just seems like the kind of thing that if you're sold on the quality of a certain product, we don't want to end up having to go with a lower, with a different company
Yeah,
that.
understood.
Yeah, so Mawa, put theirs out to bid, and Snap Sport won the bid, the low bid, so, their specs were written, I think, in a way that a couple of different companies could bid on it. It's not just sole proprietor, it's,
Would you be able to get a copy of their?
Yeah, we do
yeah,
have.
Oh, you have a
I
copy,
sent it to
okay.
him, yeah.
And then we might need to also just put the, well, of course, we'd have to put the fencing out too, but the upgraded basketball court, the prep work, we might need to do a little more research on that, and even, that might have to go out to bid.
Well, as far
Because-
as some of the stuff about taking out, the berm, that's something I can talk to Highway about.
Yeah, you would need to talk to Highway
that
first.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
tree.
recommend that.
Highway to
That's
take
what we're
down,
kind of
take down the
hoping.
tree.
Yeah, I would recommend talking to them right away to see if that, because we might need to put that
Yeah.
out to bid if they're not disposed towards that.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay,
Well, I'm excited to see a nice improvement to another park then, so.
Oh, yeah, it'd be great.
We
It
hope-
would be,
yeah,
and thanks for all your research, Kathleen. You always
sure.
do a lot, and
Okay.
Appreciate that.
sure, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
You need- Yeah, I'll keep it. I'll call you.
Oh, yeah, no. Kathleen, you can have you can have it back. I was thinking, is
Dave
there,
wants to try
is
to-
there a use for that?
Take a sledgehammer to that.
My hand to it.
Okay. So now we can move on to the public comment on the resolutions only. Doesn't look like we have any, so let's go on those.
Resolution 371 of 2016, resolution renewing mobile home licenses.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 37-2, 2016, resolution authorizing the issuance of salvage yard license renewals January 1st, 2016 through December 31, 2016.
Okay, we have a slight change.
Oh, great.
Right, Em?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to?
So, according to the letter that Tad sent with the listing of the licenses, there is no number 3, so the number should read 1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
And
And
then,
then in the next paragraph, it says numbers 1 through 5, it should be through 6.
This is a mobile home.
salvage yards. Okay, so do we have a second?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 37-3 of 2016, resolution authorizing renewal of used motor vehicle license renewals for January 1, 2016 through December 31st, 2016.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye. Resolution 37-4 of 2016, resolution authorizing Donna McRogan, Town Clerk, to attend the annual conference given by the New York State Town Clerks Association.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
I just wanted to say, I read Donna's request, and I appreciate you going to the trouble to try to keep the costs down on that.
Yes,
and,
thanks,
And
Donna.
also taking the time to attend and learn, so thank you.
Yeah, I thank the Town Clerks Association for sponsoring that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
Oh, me. Resolution 375 of 2016, resolution authorizing the attorney to the town to execute a consent judgment settling the tax certiorari proceeding, Kim Reddle Lawrence versus Town of Hyde Park.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye. Resolution 37-6 of 2016, resolution approving budget revisions to the town of Hyde Park for the period of February 2016.
And do we have a second? And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 37-7 of 2016, resolution authorizing town supervisor to execute license and use agreement and addendum to license and use agreement with the Culinary Institute of America and the Town of Hyde Park for adult lap swim.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 37-8 of 2016, resolution approving the execution of quitclaim deed to Michael Conforti for a portion of the Madison Avenue extension.
Okay, so Warren's going to explain this a little bit.
This is a strip of property which it joins the Conforti property at 547 Violet Avenue. It's 80 feet in length and 25 feet wide, and we call it the Madison Avenue extension. Apparently, at one time, this was part of a municipal or town highway that was abandoned, and usually when that occurs, the fee simple ownership in the underlying road, because it's a user road, we don't acquire title to the underlying fee simple interest in that, reverts to the adjoining property owners. And this seems to be an orphan piece that nobody claims or uses, and we've been asked by the property owner to quitclaim the neighboring property owner, Conforti, to quitclaim whatever title or interest we have in that property to them. And we've agreed to do this, and before we did it, we consulted with our assessor and determined that a purchase price of $1,500 for the quitclaim was fair and reasonable, and it's a way of accommodating a property owner, and hopefully that will be put to some good use for the property owner in the town.
Warren, I probably should have asked you this earlier, but we had discussions regarding this as to whether we would put some sort of caveat that there would be further pursuit through the planning board to obtain all approvals needed.
I had thought that they had that, but I'll put that in the contract. We haven't done a
Yes.
contract with them yet.
Okay, would you do that?
So,
Okay.
we
Yeah, we
will,
just want to make sure that, because that was kind of the rationale in going forward with this.
right, I thought that had done, why don't we discuss it at our meeting tomorrow morning, just so I know exactly what, okay?
Okay. Okay, so does anyone have any questions on that?
Great.
No, I think it's a good thing, moving towards compliance for Michael Conforti, and he can utilize a piece of property that we don't.
Right.
So, okay,
We need to vote on that, right?
yeah. So do we have a second?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 379 of 2016, resolution authorizing the town supervisor to extend a consulting agreement with Morris Associates to provide project facilitator services in conjunction with the MUNICITY project extension, while still under the grant, right?
Yes, that's right, exactly. So do we have,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 37-10 of 2016, resolution authorizing the revision of the budget to the municipal project.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye. Resolution 37-11 of 2016, Town of Hyde Park Town Law, resolution commencing the local law adoption process for proposed local law number 2 of 2016.
Second.
And Warren, do you just want to?
Sure, this is just some housekeeping for our snow removal laws in our town code to cover some properties that are new and not covered by our sidewalk requirements for adjoining property owners. So that's really all it is. And it's a type 2 action under seeker, so we don't need an environmental review.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
And the last one is with great pleasure, Resolution 37-12 of 2016, resolution awarding the bid for the Greentree Corner Building demolition project.
Second.
All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm just,
Sorry, we were having a little party.
yeah, we're pretty happy about this. Just so, we're happy also, one, that the property appears the person who is illegally, improperly using that property has vacated the premises.
Has departed.
And took off the materials too, and which we are pleased about. And we're also pleased that this came in under the projected budget. Thanks, Pete, for doing a good estimate on that. Appreciate it. Yeah.
They've been
No,
here.
what
Well,
else?
it
It's
was
important that
the
these things are estimated in advance, and that's good.
But really, the bids were all over the place. So it was
Yeah.
another case that it was good we used BidNet.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll echo the BidNet cheer that we wouldn't have gotten a bid from,
It was an Albany firm, right?
Yeah.
Where is that?
So the other bid was, I think, 107,
Albany.
and this one was 47, so very,
We had
He called their references, they were great.
76,000, and then it was 100 and something thousand.
On the back of it shows what the bids came.
yeah.
Right.
So I was very pleased with that.
Big
Um,
good.
Okay, I'd just like to make mention that on March 28th, that we'll be having a public information session here at the Town Hall on our planned improvement to Route 9, the Route 9 redesign project. And so that will take place at 7 PM on March 28th. So the public is absolutely invited to come and comment, give their suggestions. We welcome those. And the engineers who we're working with are GPI from Albany, and they'll be in attendance, and they'll have the plan. And Pete and I are coordinating our schedules so that we can go meet with the individual property owners in advance. So that, Dave, if you'd ever like to join us, we could, try to include you. But we're going to go talk with them and make.
Was that meeting on the 28th?
7 PM, yep. And you and I can kind of try to schedule that tomorrow, okay,
Yeah,
Pete?
tomorrow.
Yeah, good, good. And I just wanted to make a mention that of appreciation. The planning board did a resolution extending their appreciation to Ann Hampson and Mary Zabo for filling in while Donna Knapp was out, and they did a fantastic job, and they saved the town a lot of money because we didn't have to hire anyone else, so we just wanted to extend our appreciation for that.
Right.
Okay, any other
Yeah,
mentions? Yep,
Just a
Joe?
reminder that the Easter egg hunt
Yeah.
for the town is on March 19th.
Okay.
At 1 o'clock, rain date is the following Saturday,
Okay,
March 26th,
so 1 PM at Hackett Hill.
at Hackett Hill, yes.
Okay, so may I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
I'm going in 3 weeks.
I'm going Saturday.
Are you?
Thanks,
Good,
Donna.
thank you.
No,
Make sure you go to the Doral.
Yeah, the Route 9
Stay there.
redesign project. It's not exactly,
Yeah,
I don't know, are we calling it the Route 9 redesign, or are we calling it the Hyde Park infrastructure? What do-
really?
I know, we should figure that out. I'll let you know tomorrow.
Have you played out here?
How are you doing?
I shot in the mid-'80s on that. The hardcore,
We're good.
It's been a long day, I'm tired.
which I, harnessed these where they have